Hey, good morning, and I hope you guys are having a great day. So, we're back with our free Harvard online course that we're auditing Rhetoric, the art of persuasive writing and public speaking. Of course, if you want to, you can choose to pay for the course and receive full credit. We're going to resume real quick and get right back to what we were doing. So, I will have to say that the lecture material is super valuable. We're not covering the lectures in Module 8 on stream. And so, because that's just me watching the professor do his class, and that wouldn't really be, I don't think, fair use in the same manner as us taking the course. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm going to get chat up real quick. I do hope you guys are all doing absolutely amazing. I'm doing awesome. Of course, last night I was up late last night streaming, and so I'm a little discombobulated this second, besides the fact it's, 5 a.m., but not enough that it should have impact our ability to just absolutely dominate this class. Make sure our stream is going good. Always stresses me out. Yep, we're good. We've got chat. Our stream is up. I have coffee. I hope you guys have coffee. We're at module 3 at this. At this point, we're going to be covering the rhetoric around the gun control debate. This is Harvard. I'm going to assume it is left leaning to a point, but let's objectively take in the material as a rhetoric thing and not as a political thing, no matter which way you lean. Legitimately, this is just a course in rhetoric, and so a lot of the topics covered in the course are going to be slightly controversial. By covering the topic, I in no way am siding with a topic or against a topic, unless I openly in the middle of the stream start writing, like my personal opinion on this situation. And then, of course, then that is what it is. So let's move forward on this. Sorry about all the precursors to it. Also, if you just want to take a course on your own, I did put the link in the description below. Boom. Okay, Module 3, Gun Control. By the end of this module, you will be able to do the following. Define inductive reasoning and some of its associated topics. Identify instances of inductive reasoning in writing and speech. Define deductive reasoning and some of its associated topics. Oh, deductive and inductive. Okay. Identify instances of deductive reasoning in writing and speech. Recognize and evaluate the strength of an argument's refutation. Apply the elements of rhetoric you have learned so far in the final draft of your op ed. Shocking that we'd be at a final draft point at the op ed. This is the thing I'm talking about where they offer to let you, hey, you could pay for it, receive credit for this, and a verified certificate. It's probably super fancy because it's a Harvard certificate. I'm sure that's it right there, right? Maybe one day we'll pay for one of these courses. What do you guys want to throw money at me one day and pay for a course for me? I'm more than willing to take it. Um, I would like to be within the bounds of me having some context to the elements in the field of study. But what the heck? Let's throw some dice. Let's have some fun, right? Lesson from the opposition. This module focuses on speeches by two individuals who vehemently disagree on a still controversial subject, gun control. Each offers a refutio or counterargument to one or more of the other side's statements. Countering your opponent's assumption is an effective way to strengthen your argument. Think of an issue you're passionate about. Find a piece of writing or a speech that supports the opposite point of view. How does the writer or speech use language to influence the audience? What are some memorable words or phrases? If you have video of the speech addressing an audience, note the reaction. Post your analysis to the discussion forum. You may choose to post anonymously, provide a link or the text to the video. Okay, so let me really think about this because well, for one, let me first reread what they're requesting so that I'm very much sure that I'm actually getting them what they want. Oh, I'm passionate about a lot of issues, guys. Okay, find a piece of writing or a speech that supports the opposite point of view. Woo. That's an interesting one. Let me think. These people aren't posting what he asked. Do you see this? They're just like, I don't even know what the crap. I don't know what these people are doing. I don't feel that they read what was being requested. I'm gonna pick a topic in a second. This person just posted a video. Persuasion, propaganda, words who choose. See, this is not what they asked. Okay, I have strong feelings um on personal freedoms. I personally do not know of people that have argued against personal freedoms. Okay, in society, not just in America. Personally, I literally do believe in. Okay, so there's not a lot of people that have been arguing that one. That's good to know. Good to know. Okay, so I don't want to weigh into certain things, you guys. This is why everybody just posted some random crap. Okay. Okay. No, no, no. I want strong speeches. Okay. We're going to look at some of these. Oh, shit. If the last strong speeches. Oh, this is that's not good. Right there. I mean, like, I'm against the education system the way it currently is, just so you guys know. I think it's absolutely a failure and asinine tragedy of an institution that lacks the ability to evolve. Let's look at this. I'm going to have to read this transcript real quick. Adam L. Wagger, Make Education Great Again, published in November of 2024 by the Department of Education. Today, I am here to deliver Bitter Medicine, American Education. Oh, this guy doesn't even argue that it's good. We're going to use this, though, in ours. Holy crap. Let's read through this all the way before I just assume that his opening is the same as his conclusion. Ooh, this is seriously brutal. Okay, so this is more stuff. Hold on. We're at his conclusion here. The density of our. Ooh, that's an interesting way to say it. The density of our nation depends on education. The effort to revitalize our schools must be as bold as our aspirations. Together, we will bring American education. See, this guy, legitimately, I'm blown away that I agree with the Department of Education, dude. Because I would have thought that I would have had a starkly contrasting view. And as I look through this, their criticisms are found and just. We're going to grab this real quick, guys. This is a super good argument. And we're going to go back in and we're going to go back to the course button. I'll refind where we are. This is too important. And we would like to have this for the body of our rhetoric piece. Don't worry, I'll just click through all this crap where they make us. We already read all this. It was fun. Okay. Here's our op-ed area. Come on. Okay, so here we're going to use this too. In not our narratio, is it our conformioto? Yeah, in our conformioto. Excellent, excellent. AmericanRhetoric.com is where it's from. That's awesome. Okay, we're going to resubmit that. I'm glad it's letting us resubmit that, in all honesty, but whatever. We'll just move forward now. We're going to kick back. I still haven't found what they want me to find for the current thing, which is an issue. Let's go back up to the top. Let me get back to where we're supposed to be. I will legitimately this time Okay, so I noticed this guy's penalty should be abolished. I'm absolutely for the death penalty to when it comes to people that have done horrific things to people. Just so you guys, I'll say that. I'm not going to pretend. Um, okay, so we're going to find strong. Let's put the R in there, right? Okay, Vanderbilt School of Law, excellent school of law, persuasive speech on killing the death penalty. There looks like to be some serious debates on this. I'm going to be honest.
We're this debate. First thing I need to tell you is to turn off all cell phones so we don't have any distracting noises during the debate. And I also want, as a preliminary matter, thank the Law School's Hyatt Fund and the Law Students for Social Justice who organized this debate.
Blah, 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 blah.
Take the vote. And probably most of you know
the people on death row shouldn't be there, not because I think they're innocent, but because I don't think their crimes are heinous enough. The idea is that the worst of the worst. Now, when you ask the question on the Gallup question side, do you think murderers deserve the death penalty? Again, generally not. Most, in fact, of all crimes, murder is one of the least likely to recidivate. Most murderers.
Oh, you know what? No, I literally don't agree with this dude, but we're going to use this as an example of a dude arguing the opposite of what I like. Honestly, if somebody hurts, and I know the law is not necessarily supposed to be about vengeance, right? But if somebody hurts somebody I know, I'm not going to be like, oh, well, you know what? They're so unlikely to hurt somebody again. I'm gonna probably. I mean, we're all different. It is what it is. Let's go like this. Heinous crimes. Okay, I believe we have the right YouTube. I'm gonna just double check. Yep. Okay. Make sure that we got what we're supposed to. Okay, we've done what we're supposed to. Provided the link. Blah, blah, blah. Opposition of my position. I don't want to follow any of the posts. I'm going to just be honest. We're just doing what we're supposed to do. See, we did how it's supposed to be done. Oh, what's up with everybody? Just, hey, here's who I am. How you doing? Okay. In this module, you will learn to recognize and use both inductive and deductive reasoning in your argument. Before we turn to inductive reasoning, share your first impressions of her speech. Oh, Sarah Brady, this is after her husband got thapped when Reagan was attempted, I mean, the attempted assassination of Reagan. I'm going to click it. We're going to watch it. It'll be interesting. I honestly don't think I've ever watched uh, Sarah Brady's speech. Is this seriously took me to the Democratic National Convention? Do we just want to read it? I'm going to read it because I'm not going to click C-SPAN's copyrighted stuff and be in trouble. You know what I mean? So we're going to just read Sarah Brady's speech. It better not be 2 hours. Oh, oh God, they really were just going to have us watch the entire frickin'. Oh. Why would they offer us a free trial? So this is an emotional plea in the aftermath of her husband's injuries due to an attempted assassination on Ronald Reagan. So in 1996, at the Democratic National Convention, keynotes Sarah Brady. Jim, we must have made a wrong turn. This isn't San Diego. Jim Brady, I told you, Sarah, this is the Democratic Convention. 15 years ago, Jim was White House press secretary. Our son Scott was just 2 years old. All of our dreams had come true. But then, one rainy afternoon in March, our dreams were shattered by the assassination attempt on President Reagan. President Reagan was shot, and so was Jim. We almost lost Jim that day, and we almost lost the president, but thanks to the heroism of the Secret Service and the determination of the physicians and staff at George Washington's Hospital, Jim lived, and so did the president. I think Reagan was only hit in the arms, so I actually don't think that there was a chance that Reagan died from that anyway, but I mean, maybe I'm wrong, so don't. Thank God, but our lives would never be quite this. Wait. Oh, okay. She's not thank Godding it. I was like, what? Okay, thank God, but our lives would never be quite the same. All it took was one gun, one bullet, and one man who never owned a gun, who should never have owned the gun. Okay. Every year in this country, nearly 40,000 Americans are killed with firearms. By the way, most of those are self-inflicted wounds and stuff like that, but that's its own complicated thing. More than 100,000 more are wounded every 2 hours. Another child is killed with a gun, and with each death, each wound, another American dream, another American family is shattered. This must stop. Jim and I decided that we should do something about it. I don't really remember exactly how cognitively up to speed Jim was after being shot in the head, or where, I'm not really sure where he was shot, but I remember he was seriously injured. It wasn't a little thing. It was serious as crap. Not as a Republican, but as Americans. I became chair of the handgun control, and Jim and I joined together in speaking out against gun violence. We have traveled from coast to coast during the past 10 years. We have met thousands of gun violence victims and their families. Their stories continue to break our hearts, especially those involving children. That's why we support legislation requiring a waiting period to purchase a handgun. The idea was simple: establish a cooling off period, and give police the time they need to conduct a background check on the buyer. Introduced in 1987, the Brady Bill was an overnight success. Every major law enforcement group endorsed it. So did former President Reagan, Carter, Ford, and Nixon. In fact, 9 out of 10 Americans support a waiting period. And it just made sense. But year after year, the gun lobby defeated the Brady Bill. Well, then it didn't have as much strong support as they believed. Just to be honest, like there's a lot of organizations pushing for gun control, and so for a single organization to defeat your measure, it's not as strongly supported as they're claiming. The National Rifle Association said that 7 days or even 7 hours was just too long to buy a handgun. It was inconvenient. Well, our families can tell the gun lobby a little bit about the inconvenience, the despair. See, that's another emotional plea, and the pain that can result from a gunshot wound. But don't take our word for it. Ask anyone whose life has been touched by gun violence. In 1991, both House and Congress passed the Brady Bill. Jim and I were elated, but the gun lobby and the threat of presidential veto killed the Brady Bill once again. It was then that we learned the value of having a president who is really committed to putting an end to gun violence. And 4 years ago, the American people elected just such a president, Bill Clinton. In his first State of the Union address, told Congress, if you pass the Brady Bill, I'll sure sign it. After 7 long years, Congress finally passed the Brady Bill, and President Clinton kept his promise. He signed it into law. Thank you, President. The moment was the proudest moment of our lives, and let me tell you why. Since the Brady Law went into effect in February 28, 1994, the Brady Law has stopped more than 100,000 convicted felons and others from prohibited purchasers from buying handguns. Today and every day, the Brady Law is stopping an estimated 85 felons from buying a handgun. So it's stopping them from their first legal attempt to buy a handgun, in which then they just buy the handgun illegally and there's no record of it connecting it to them at all. Just gonna point it out, like gun violence is still absolutely prevalent and in very heavily restricted gun cities because the illegal gun trade supplies guns. And then there's no legal purchase record, and so it is what it is. But we have to do more. We should, as President Clinton proposed today, stop people convicted of domestic violence from buying a handgun. Jim and I are proud to join you tonight in saluting the great job that President Clinton has done in fighting crime and gun violence. There's a funny story along with this, which I know it's horrible to say that there's a funny story along with this situation. So if you guys remember when they actually passed this through with the domestic violence thing with guns, so many police had domestic violence charges in the past and stuff like that. And if you're not able to possess a gun, that's a super serious issue if you're a police officer. And so when this actually went through, it caused a huge issue. A ironically unforeseen issue that nobody would, I wouldn't have thought of it, I'll be honest. But it did cause issues. Okay, he's a hunter and he's a sportsman, but he understands the difference between Remington firearms and an AK-47. Clinton, for frick sure, was not a sportsman and a hunter. The guy was a playboy and a cool dude. He could play a saxophone, but I definitely wouldn't associate him with an outdoorsman and a hunter. Super well spoken. Okay. And he knows that you don't go hunting with an Uzi. Mr. President, you deserve our thanks. I don't honestly know anybody that goes hunting with an Uzi either, just for the record. But the Second Amendment actually for the defense of your personal freedoms and in your own personal safety and stuff like that. It's actually not about hunting. So I think people get confused on that. Jim Brady and a big bear thumbs up. Oh, so they have him just like he's like a prop here. This is like Joe Biden his last frickin' presidency. Okay. Or during his presidency. That guy was a total prop. But gun violence is not a Democrat or a Republican problem. It's a problem that affects each and every one of us. It was a Democratic Congress that passed the Brady Bill and a Democratic president who signed it. But we could never have passed the Brady Bill without the support of a lot of Republicans, including former President Ronald Reagan. And we could have never passed it without the support of law enforcement officials. But now we need your help. The battle is not about guns. It's about families. It's about children. It's about our future. You can't have strong families without safe children. Oh, so now that it is about guns. The gun lobby likes to say that Jim and I are trying to take away guns from hunters and sportsmen. The gun lobby is wrong. They actually for sure weren't wrong. The gun lobby was for sure right. Like, for sure. The anti-gun lobby does for sure want to remove guns. That's been made apparent, especially overseas where they've been more successful. To the hunter and sportsman of America, we say keep your guns. Just give us the laws that we need to keep guns out of the hands of criminals and out of the hands of children. In 1968, Senator Robert Kennedy expressed his great optimism about ending gun violence in America. He told a crowd of supporters in Los Angeles that we are a great country, an unselfish country, and a compassionate country. Moments later, an assassin's bullet took his life, but he was right then and he is right now. We are a great country. We are a compassionate country. Jim and I are full of hope. With all of us working together, we can restore peace in our neighborhoods, we can eliminate random gun violence, and we can preserve the American dream for all of us. Don't do it for Sarah and Brady. Jim Brady. Oh, they used their own names like that. Mr. Brady. Do it for our children. My God. 3 whole lines. Yeah, he was really carrying that. This is a shit emotional plea speech that's sappy as crap and only works on retarded people. I'm going to just be honest. That's my opinion on that kind of crap. I have literally no care about that stuff. I've already annotated our source material. Oh, they want us to annotate this. Oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna put an annotation. The whole thing legitimately is emotional trash and dribble. Annotate. What's our word for an emotional plea is the important thing, that we use the terms that we're supposed to. Pathos I am calling it emotional dribble. I'm okay with that. Okay, boom. This was a giant pathos argument made of emotional dribble. The sad part is, it seemed that Jim Brady was used as a prop with the occasional line thrown to him. I know that that's probably a shocking one to say. I'm okay with saying it. I honestly think that most of that I don't buy into emotional dribble arguments, you guys, just for the record. Are we going to learn more about Sarah and the fact that she was a lifelong Republican because she was married to a political Republican? Yeah, okay. Yep, more about her. Okay, Speaker Sarah. Sarah Brady was a lifelong Republican who spent much of her career working for Republican congressmen and the Republican National Committee. As such, she was an unlikely advocate for gun control, a position more commonly associated with the political left. Here's a factor. Sarah Brady was heavily compensated for it. Just so you guys know, like her husband got shot, and she went directly on the payroll of the anti-gun lobby. They left that out. I mean, it's an omission, but it is a valid omission. That, like, shortly after her husband was shot, and disabled from his injuries, which it was serious, and I get it. She legitimately became a heavily paid gun pusher for gun control. Her advocacy began shortly after March 30th of 1981, the day John Hinckley Jr. attempted to assassinate President Ronald Reagan. Sarah's husband and Ronald Reagan Press Secretary James Brady was one of 4 people wounded in the assassination attempt and was left permanently disabled from his injuries. Hinckley was able to buy his weapon despite a criminal history and being under psychiatric care. After learning this, the Brady Initiative initiated a campaign to impose restrictions on handgun purchases, including a 5-day waiting period. They became active in the lobbying organization Handgun Control Inc., which later became the Brady Bill campaign to prevent gun violence. Sarah would chair the organization from 2000 until her death of 2015. The couple's effort culminated in the passage of the Brady Handgun Violence Prevention Act, or the Brady Bill. Although the bill passed by both House of Congress in 1991, it was left unsigned by then President George H.W. Bush. The Brady Bill was finally signed by Bill Clinton in 1993 and went into effect in 1994. It passed despite ferocious opposition by the National Rifle Association, which spent millions of dollars lobbying against it. Why don't you mention how much was spent lobbying for it? See, this is the problem with courses like this. There's not a balanced supposition of knowledge. A funding lawsuit to chip away at most of the individual provisions Among other things, the bill mandated background checks before a firearm could be purchased from federally licensed dealers, a restriction that remains into effect today. With her disabled husband at her side, Sarah Brady delivered this speech at the 1996 Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. Both registered Republicans. The Bradys were by that point heavily involved in the campaign for restriction on gun purchases and were frequent targets of NRA criticism. The Brady bill was also under attack at the time. The object of several NRA funded lawsuits. The Bradys spoke at the convention both to celebrate the signing of the bill and to issue a call to action for further restrictions on gun ownership. But, short but powerful. This speech was crap. Short but powerful. This speech is notable for its lengthy narrative in which Sarah Brady details her family's personal relationship with gun violence, the history of the Brady bill, and the explicit connection to the incumbent president. In her speech, she seeks to counter the NRA's position. She never countered the NRA's position with crap. Like, this was not relevant. It was, but okay. Brady speaks to her own political leanings in a brief refutio before turning to her husband to issue a consensus building final call to action. Inductive reasoning. Okay, inductive reasoning. In our discourse of logos, or the appeal of reason, we mention inductive reasoning from specific examples to form a general conclusion. Let's look at a kind of reasoning, or a little bit of more of. Let's look at this kind of reasoning a little bit more closely. Because inductive involves reasoning outward from a limited set of examples, its conclusions are always statements of probability. For example, if someone catches a cold, we know that it probably lasts about a week because we have access to data on an enormous number of cases of the common cold. However, we cannot say for sure that this particular case of the cold will not prove to be an exception to the rule. Reasoning, for example, will always be more conclusive when there are more examples to work with. If we have just one example of anecdotal evidence, then any conclusion we will any conclusion we draw will likely be a tenuous one. It should be a tenuous one, but whatever. If we have many examples, our conclusion will be more firm. Reasoning from examples also requires us to show the examples are analog to the cases in question. If it turns out that the supposed cold is not in fact a common cold but actually a case of, say, tuberculosis, then the case in question is not truly analogous to the example we have based our inference on, and so we will most likely have made a false prediction. An argument based on inductive reasoning is valuable to challenge An argument based on inductive reasoning is valuable to challenge at all of these points. It may be said not to have relied upon a sufficiently large set of examples. It may be said to have made a false equivalency, or it may simply be contested on the grounds that it cannot ever be perfectly certain. All valid. However, despite its limitations, inductive reasoning works. Most discussions made in real life are based on probabilities, and most people are receptive to persuasion on the grounds of sufficient probable cause. Successful inductive arguments, thus depending on the relevance and credibility of their examples, the most successful combine these with other persuasive modes, ethical and emotional appeals. Honestly, I should go back and fix my what I threw down as a overview of the Bradyville and outline that small section where they throw out the facts is their section that is the so honestly I didn't give it justice. So I'll probably fix that tomorrow, but not right this second, guys. We'll get through this, and maybe we don't fix it tomorrow. Inductive reasoning in Sarah Brady's speech. The poster person. As Professor Ingalls mentioned, Sarah makes a case for increasing gun control based on a particular Rhetoric example. The injury of her husband, Jim Brady, during the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. She also forgets to mention that she's being paid generously as heck. What are the advantages of such an example? What are the drawbacks? What kind of appeal, ethical, emotional, or logical, does it lend itself to? She totally throws out an emotional appeal. We read it. Okay, for your next set of annotations, ask yourself, what other rhetorical examples can you find? Does Brady reason inductively from those examples, either explicitly or implicitly? Professor Ingalls mentions that this speech has an extraordinarily long narratio. That's right, because it had no substance. He suggests that since the issue is complex, a lot of context is necessary. I think that's basically all she had is some context, like the woo-woo part. What other reasons can think of for the length of this speech is narratio? What arguments of the parts of the discourse introduction, narratio, argument, etc., might be best suited to an argument based on inductive reasoning? Great questions. So this is where we're going to start tomorrow. I'm going to cut it a little short today. Let's look at our progress and find out where we are to give me a little bit more time in reviewing through the other source material. Plus, I want to take some time and spend more time today. Says we're only 31% of the way done through this course. That doesn't really shock me. The majority of this course is the op-ed speech. And so, like, a huge chunk of it gets finished when we write that. What can you do, right? We work on it. We keep on working. I think we're doing awesome. I hope you guys have an absolutely amazing day and a great start to the week. Peace, very bad.